What up, y'all? This is Come On Son, the podcast. I'm Ed Lover, your host. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to check out Come On Son, the podcast. Now, if you checked out Come On Son, the podcast last week when I had Snypa and Hitmaker D-Aye on the show, you probably said, damn, Ed, you got the same damn clothes on you had on last week. And I do. You know why? Because this is part 2 to the same damn podcast. Because when we was doing the podcast, we was like, that's a wrap. Thank y'all. Blah, 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 blah. And motherfucker, if something amazing did not happen to us when we was walking out the door. Y'all heard him say that Gipp, if you got to listen to the podcast, he was talking about Gipp last week. So we brought the cameras back in, sat back down again because Gipp is in the building. The OG Gipp is in the building. Gipp, what up, baby?
What's up, King?
How you doing, brother?
Man, love one.
Always a pleasure to see my man Gipp, man.
Yeah.
Gipp, how do you know Snypa, man?
Man, I met this man at an interview. Walked up to him. He had a him and his partner had a very different look. And I was very, very impressed with it. And we got to talking. And they was like, yo, OG, man, you need to come to the studio with us, man, and listen to what we got. I looked at the video. I was like, I like this. The presentation was already, past what I see these kids doing. And I'm like, anytime somebody can take and make and dress themselves up like the music, that means that they understand. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing about most young artists. They don't really understand. You have to have both to work for the audience to really understand your vision. And I think that they kind of like him and Hitmaker really, they got their thing together. They understand what they're doing, so it's just a matter of time before the world gets it.
Yeah. You got to have that to make people buy into.
Okay, so that was just the first part. Once I got to the studio with him, we walked into the room, and the producer just played a track. Snypa instantly went into the booth. Now, I'm from, we from the old school, man. I'm looking at that like, wait a minute, the beat ain't even finished yet. So he went in, then Hitmaker went in, and then, I was just looking like, okay, it's my turn. But I ain't ready yet. And I ain't gonna tell you no lie, Ed. We sat around, they instantly killed it. I had to find my way.
Right.
Snypa was like, man, come on, OG, just put something down. I said, I ain't got it all, but I put the first half down. I put the first half down. They loved that part. I understood that I was in the right pocket. Went back home, got on the porch, and, man, I finished it by the next day, and we laid it down. And I think that this record it's kind of one of my biggest records that I ever recorded because it's in another vein. It's in another section of music, another genre, Having big records like Grills, I had a big record, a worldwide record. So I know. So it was just like when I recorded Grills, I knew. When I recorded this record, I knew. This gonna be a big record.
When you recorded Cell Therapy, did you know?
I didn't know from my verse. I knew that it was a big song because Cujo and Reek had already put the first verse and the hook on it.
Okay.
So that itself was big because I'd never heard Joe rap in that cadence and do a hook in that cadence. So that's the reason why, to me, I didn't know Cell Therapy was. I didn't know until it actually came out. Because you remember, Ed, like we was in a different time then. You know what I mean? It was just a different time. And that was just something that wasn't, I looked at it as like, man, we got our public enemy. That's how I looked at it. Like, I got my public enemy. But at the same time, I didn't know how I didn't know how the buying public was going to take to it. But Cell Therapy turned out to be monumental for Goodie Mob. Life-changing. We still on tour. We on tour the next to 2024, summer, next 2024. So, I mean, like, as far as being in this game for 30, 25 years and still being able to go out here and book shows every weekend and do what we do, man, only God can give you that.
Absolutely. Gipp, do you look back on this shit, because I know I do, and go, God damn, like I'm still making money off of hip-hop?
I did the other day. I did the other night going in the studio with Snypa and Hitmaker. I thought about it on the ride home. And I tell people to stay in this business for a long time, you have to stay aware. You have to stay in tune to what's going on. And you have to always want to play student. You got to always say, even when you don't understand something, ask. Try to understand. And sometimes when you asking and you understanding, it gives you a new pocket and a new place to run in music. And they did that for Gipp. Just by recording it. I want to tell people all the time, you know, like, Outkast was the first in our crew to go and get Slick Rick and do a song with him at the time. Even New Yorkers wasn't messing with him.
Right.
So for me as a crew, when we watched that and we watched what it did for Slick and it reborn Slick in every kind of way.
The art of storytelling.
This is the reason. This is what I feel is gonna happen with Gippy in this situation. They're so talented, and I was so impressed. I went right to Rico and Ray and Sleep and asked them to be the new addition of Dungeon Family. To start a 5th generation.
Yes, sir.
You know, our kids got 1 generation. All our kids got 1 generation, but I'm looking at them like they taking us into a whole nother place that none of us have touched yet. So why not bring them into the Dungeon Family and let them be the ones that take this other genre of music, this Afrobeat soul, to another place.
Yeah.
And have, you know, OGs like us and just people that just love music, musicians-minded artists like us, to always be there for them, always be there if they need any guidance, and just make sure that, you know, we protect the ones that's talented, because there's a whole bunch of industry props out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with us looking and understanding their talent, my family from Alabama, my father from Troy, Alabama, so his upbringing, I know he is like the back of my hand.
Right, Hitmaker's upbringing.
Yeah, no, he is like the back of my hand. This guy here, just listening to him talk and listening how he represents himself, his background, he gonna be special for the industry.
Yeah,
you know,
he has a multinational background too.
Man, it's no ceiling on you. It's no ceiling on Snypa. So to know how big the world is right now, and you know, to go on tour with Nelly and go to the Netherlands, Australia, Japan, all through Germany, even with my guys, we never had this kind of music.
Right.
I know what this does. Like,
you see what it does.
This 100,000, 200,000 people out there.
This is Brazilian stadiums, 250,000 people.
Yeah, so, you know, unless you got a pop record like CeeLo Green or something, this is the other place you could be, in them places that could have those kind of reactions and those kind of audiences. So Afrobeat soul, I mean, it's something that Atlanta needs, and I think it'll be good for the new artists out here to see that these guys want to take it in another place, because right now drill and everything that's going on in hip-hop, man, they're going to start pulling back from this because it's too much death. And I feel like them wanting to go mess with the women, mess with the party, you got a longer life in this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. It's a higher frequency music too. It's a music that make people want to get up and enjoy themselves and have a good time.
Yeah, because, I mean, when I look at it, I was like, shoot, when you look at if you look at trap, man, I mean, Future, that's Dungeon Family. So, man, we did that.
That's right.
We run that. So,
that's right.
Man, with D right here, man, this might be our new way of running the Afro soul, you know, and opening up new doors that if we stand by them, other younger artists will want to take and run behind them and take another route in music. And that's just going to save Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely.
In the long run.
Yo, let's take it back, Gipp. Let's take it back. What was y'all thought process at the time? Let's go back to the Source Awards when Dre said what he said about the South got something to say. What were y'all thought process on how New York was such a mecca for hip-hop, but they really wasn't buying into what was going on in the South? What your thought process like at the time?
Our thought process was this. If you don't know who we are right now, you're going to understand when you see us again. We left there understanding there was so much going on, you know. And I tell people all the time, bro, that at that time, bro, that was the first time that most of us seen each other in the flesh. We was just watching all of us, either watching y'all on Yo MTV Raps,
right,
or we was on Teen Summit, you know. But most of us, once we got in that Source room that day, that was the first time we ever seen each other in the flesh. So for me to be in that room, I understood that we had to be even better than what they thought we wasn't. So when we left that place, in our mind, it's like we ain't sleeping. We gonna beat everybody ass for the next 10 years. And I only speak like that because, and a lot of people talk. I was like, bro, Outkast dropped their last album in 2011. Like, it is nobody from our era that got records doing that come from our era that was dropping records then.
Right.
We're the only ones. When you look at the success of Goodie Mob, the success of what CeeLo went and did on his own, the success of Outkast, we made sure when we walked out of that room that they were never gonna disrespect our talent again. And I think that it made us monsters, bro. Like, I had a conversation all the time. I said, if you think about us and the people that was in that room, most of the people in that room did not go past 3 albums.
There's a lot of artists that didn't go past 3 albums.
So when they talking to me about who the best and who ain't the best, I don't understand.
Don't you think that's relative though to everybody? Because that's a hard thing to pinpoint. Nobody comes with a criteria of what makes somebody the best of all time in comparison to somebody else. Like I always tell people, I don't have a top 10.
It shouldn't be, because I feel like in music there is no best. Because if you look at our greats from George Clinton to Al Greens to Mike, nobody ever said they were the number one artist.
Right.
They respected each other for what they did, and they respected the people that loved their music. And I think with this rap thing, it's like, this shit ain't got political. To me, the game grabbed who they like, gave him keys or gave that person keys that nobody else had to elevate him higher than the ones that didn't go through the system.
Right.
See, I understand that at that time that was going on in the business, Master P was a monster.
Sure was.
Baby was a monster.
Baby was a monster. Diddy was a monster.
Diddy was a monster.
Suge was a monster.
Suge was a monster. And I feel like the people that was giving these deals,
Dre is a monster.
Yeah,
Dr.
Dre is a monster. But you got to look at the actual majors was losing to the independents.
Right.
So they had to figure out how to turn this boat around. So it was about making somebody from our era at that time, bringing them over and showing them the business that other people didn't know about. And I think that's where we start getting into this number 1, number 2, number 3 stuff, because they're trying to change rap into like a sports, like this, like Michael Jordan, like this the NBA. This ain't the NBA. It's music.
Right.
And music does not have any kind of events where you can kind of measure who's best. I look at it like this. People who say, you could say Big rap better than this person, but it's maybe because you live in New York.
Right.
You heard Big all day, every day. You heard the mixtapes. You heard everything. Well, down here in Atlanta at that time, and I tell people, bro, during that time, didn't nobody run nobody's section. The West Coast ran their section, North ran their section, the South ran our section, and nobody was over nobody.
That's true.
So when I look at it now, when they try and bottle it down and make it like one man, and these people, man, come on, man, like, man, wasn't nobody just
every time you went somewhere, and because Goody was on tour a lot, Outkast, Dungeon Family, y'all was just tearing shit up, and y'all was moving units like crazy, so y'all was moving around. If you went to Detroit and you heard the radio in Detroit radio didn't sound like Chicago radio.
Right.
And it didn't sound like Atlanta radio, and it didn't sound like New York radio. Everybody represented themselves. And the beautiful thing about hip-hop, and one of the points that I'm most proud of being a part of that video revolution of hip-hop, was letting everybody know what somebody else was doing in a different part of the country. Because if you were from New York, you didn't know nothing about Raheem the Dream. You didn't know nothing about none of them cats. But when Yo MTV Raps came and we started playing videos, then you got a taste of what everybody else was doing across the country. I always say that there became a time in hip-hop when y'all figured out that y'all can talk to your people and you don't have to sound like us to do it.
And that's all we were. That's all Outkast and Goodie Mob understood. And what people don't know is that I've always had a very, very close relationship with Public Enemy. Like when I first started my first job on Camden Road and at a Red Lobster, it was this dude that was working with me from New York. And I used to play Public Enemy all the time while we was on break. And he was like, man, you like Public Enemy? I was like, yeah. He said, bro, He said, Professor Griff, my brother, my name Mike. He said, when they come to town, I'm going to take you to meet them. And he took me to Griff first, and then we was waiting on Chuck. And this one incident stuck with me for my whole entire career. I was like, Public Enemy was headlining at the Omni, but Chuck pulled up in the cab. I was like, damn, it just humbled me, and it made me understand what type of artist I wanted to be.
Right.
So when people ask me, like, how did you make yourself up? I made myself out of Ice-T and Chuck D. Those are the two artists that I studied. So when you ask, Goodie Mob never had girls in our video.
Yeah, never.
We never did the party thing. So when you try to put us in a situation under some, I don't understand that. You know what I mean? And I understand why one person number one. That's always been the thing in New York. But I think when we left the source, we came back home and said the only way we're not going to be by ourselves in these situations is to go home and pull up as many artists as we can. And that's what happened.
Right.
That's what Atlanta, when we look at Atlanta right now, it's our blueprint, period. Nobody did it before us.
Right.
Well, we just pulled up everybody we could that we felt was talented. And, you know, I just look at Atlanta right now as that we have to move past the streets. We got to get back into poetry. We got to get back into lyricism. You know, the dungeon was in the lyricism. We're the only guys from the South that ever said we want to be hip hop.
Yeah.
We're the only guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Said
y'all lyrical as hell.
Respect hip hop, and we want to be lyrical and be respected from New York as being lyricists. So that's why I you know, they tell me, they say, how you feel about Outkast being rated the #1 group and Goodie Mob being, 32, 31? I said, well, shit, if you look at it, Gipp #1, because I've been on every Outkast. Don't make me no different.
Where did that Gipp style, your style has always been different from everybody else. Where did that Gipp style come from, bro?
Grandmama from Troy, Alabama, man. My grandmama was a wrestling fan like no other. Like, boy, she gonna get in front of that TV. She just that Wi-Fi, Tommy Rich, man, that Barbarian, man, all that. And she used to take me to the wrestling in Dothan. And when she come to Atlanta, she would take us to Channel 17 on Saturday. So I always realized certain wrestlers and their outfits, it captivated the audience. So we was doing a showcase one time in Nashville with Bad Boy, Arista, Big, Total, everybody, Mace, everybody. And it was just us and them and the Dungeon family. And I remember that was the first time I pulled one of my outfits out, and everybody looked like, man, what the hell is that, man? I was like, shit, bro. If they don't understand nothing we say, they gonna remember what I look like.
Right.
And that's the start of making anybody figure out what your music gonna sound like. So it was something that once we did the show, 3,000 was like, yeah, bro, man, show me how to do that shit, man. What you doing, man? Where you get that shit from?
Right.
And so I took Dre down to Chester Bridge, man. I took him to his first fabric store. And after I took him, bro, shoot, I ain't have to take him no more. He was gone.
Right.
So,
was that just something that you was like, listen, I gotta stand out from everybody? Why weren't you afraid at that time in hip hop, Gipp, when everybody was just kind of following the trend? Why were you not afraid to do that?
George Clinton was up there at the studio with Dallas one day. So, you know, of course, George Clinton was like, man, I'm going to go kick it with the Dungeon. You know, George, he want to go kick it with everybody. He came over to the Dungeon. He looking around. And I remember we had to go to a show or something. And he looked around. He said, man, what y'all got a show? I said, yeah, we got a show, G. He said, well, let me tell you something. What's the difference between you and the person in the audience? If the person in the audience can go to the Foot Locker and get the same thing you got on, what make you a star? And it stuck with me. And I said, that's why you do what you do on stage. He said,
right.
Exactly. You'll never find what I got on anybody in the audience. That's the difference between us and them. And that's what people pay for.
Right.
That was like a jewel that I never forgot.
Uh-huh.
And he christened us the Baby Funkadelic.
Well, 3,000 caught it. The rest of the fellas said, fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, me and 3,000, we really, once he started doing the wigs and stuff, I was like, wait a minute, now I got long hair. So shit, you know? But I can tell you this, watching him do it and watching him break barriers and watching us win 6 Grammys, and they sell more records than any hip-hop group ever. Him doing the things that he did, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. And I think that's what made Future so great.
Right.
Right now.
Because Future comes from the dungeon.
He was right there. And they called him Meathead.
Right.
That was Reek's little cousin. It was always Reek.
Uh-huh.
And he sat right there. And that's why I feel like Future is.
He soaked it all in.
He soaked it all in. Ain't made no mistakes. Dealt with the girls the way he was supposed to, and kept the music coming.
Right.
Straight. And
and every time you turn around, he dropping another project. He don't slow down.
They got it. I mean, Snypa got it, Hitmaker. I mean, like I started first seeing the youngins record like this. I remember one of our big laughs was the first time Future and 3,000 went in the studio together, and 3,000 first saw that the youngins really don't write nothing down, or they might record they verse right there at the board, and there was something.
Yeah, that's
we all
different.
looking like, where the piece of paper and the pen there? We got to write it down. And they were like, man, go on with that old shit, man. so it make you have to kind of like, okay, I'm going to have to put that up. I'm going to have to figure out what the youngest doing, and to watch them do it. I watched Nelly do this in L.A. while we was working on the album. Snypa would go in, he'd start humming, and he'd catch that melody, like he say. And then they'll go back in, and then they'll put the words where the melody is. That's so different than we learning from, the top 10, the rules of hip-hop. Is
right.
What we talking about.
Right. They're breaking the rules.
But they breaking the rules in all ways, from melodies to the way they saying words. And I feel like that's the reason why hip-hop has gone on to another level and another audience, because of the rules. All the youngers and broke all the old rules. And that's the reason why I think the actual craft and the actual genre itself does nothing but keeps moving. Any place that it touches, it keeps moving.
Snipe, do you dig who you fucking with right here, man?
Of course.
Do you have do you really understand royalty when you see it?
You know it, man. It was an honor. Even tonight, I was grateful. Just more so having self-humbleness. Just like, thank you. Even though he was like, man, I ain't ready. I'm just like, still, thank you, man. It sounds amazing. Just go, motivate him how he motivate me,
Right.
But Gipp is awesome in the studio, where he has amazing energy, man. Like the record, I can't wait to drop it off to you, man.
Gipp is just an amazing artist, period. And I'll give this man his flowers while he's sitting here. Gipp, you and Nelly's man.
Ali.
Y'all supposed to be a group. What happened?
We did a group.
What y'all do? Y'all do an album?
We sold over 250,000, 300,000 records, and then, but you gotta look. It was a thing with us. Like, Gipp went over there, and we did Sweatsuit 8 million. Came back out with the Dirty NT, that did gold. Came right back with Grills, that did 9 million.
Yeah.
And then we did a world tour. So with me, I had done so much. It was time to go back to Goodie Mob.
Mm-hmm.
It was time. We did our thing, and CeeLo called me and was like, "Yo, bro, I need you." So man, I put the mic down for 5 or 6 years and just made sure Low was right. I was just with Low. We did the Nas Barkley thing. We went into his solo thing that blew up. Then we moved to California and went and did The Voice for about 5 years. So, I was gone from Atlanta. probably like stopped rapping for about 6 or 7 years. Just
Really?
Yeah, I was like, he was like, man, go on, big bro, go on, be executive, man, go on, talk for me. But he's back. But he's back. He's back. He pulled me back, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. The other night, man, Snipe came in there. He sat on the corner of the sofa. Hitmaker was in the other room, and he looked at me sideways. He was like, "Come on, big bro, come on now, go on, don't do that." And I looked at his face. I said, "Man, if this ain't me at his age." if this ain't me trying to push one of the other brothers to do something in the dungeon, I said, man, I'm going to do something for him. And for us to come out with the record we came out with, man, it just, I'm like, damn, man, I can still do this old shit, huh? So, that's the greatest thing about me is just understanding that you don't never get old in music. Music, it's not like sports. Like sports, your body quit on you.
Yeah.
As long as you can do this and get in there and work your voice, man, I see the longevities of what reggae artists have and what rock artists have. It's just what you said, Ed. It's the 50 years of hip-hop and starting in this shit as kids, and when we started looking at you on TV and everybody on TV, we didn't know this shit was going to last like this.
That's right.
All our parents, my parents used to be like, y'all making all that goddamn noise down there, shut up. So, it was never respected by our parents and musicians then, because they were looking at it like, man, y'all you getting making circles on the floor, messing your clothes up. They thought hip hop was crazy.
Yeah, they sure did.
They were like, man, nigga,
this
messing his
bullshit.
shoes up.
Like anybody could do that.
They just really didn't understand that this was gonna be here. And in Atlanta, it used to only be WAOK, the AM. So when they asked me, yo, Gipp, what's the first rap records you heard that made you love the actual art and the culture? I said Roxanne Shante against Kango. That was like the biggest.
Roxanne.
Yes, like that was like the biggest shit. Like as a kid, like that, she was the first girl, and she was on that rhyme shit.
Hold on, we gotta take a quick break. I got more Gipp coming up. Snipers in the building. This is Come On Son, the podcast, baby. Back with more Gipp, my man Sniper in the building. Now, Gipp, we were just talking about the first time, because we were talking about Red and Meth off camera. Big shout out to Red and Meth. They're so fucking incredible. The first time you saw him here.
The first time I saw him here was at Big Gipp birthday party at the Caillou.
Okay.
So it was a Gipp/Def Jam party with Alex A.G. This is the first time that we saw Red and Meth, the first time I saw DMX, first time I saw Jay-Z. That night, Red and Meth were the biggest artists.
Oh, wow.
During that time.
Okay.
The next person that people really fell in love with was DMX. DMX really, because the way DMX rapped, he was very, very clear to a Southern person listening.
Okay.
He sounded like a Southern person rapping. Jay-Z, that was the first time I seen Jay on stage. He had on the slick, grown folk gear, and he stood in one place and rapped. Now, in Atlanta, lyricism is not really, we ain't really up on that. We really up on feeling and what you saying and what the music sound like most of the time. So during that time, if you think about it, High and all that stuff was coming out, the movie was coming out, so Red and Meth was just hot, and DMX was just so new, and Jay was on the first records, so they were Jay, they were New York. So to me, if you really look at just now, Red and Meth have always been the pinnacle of hip hop, and I don't think Redman gets the respect he should get.
Holla at him.
I think Redman is damn near number one, top 3 ever come out of New York. Redman was introduced to me through Cujo Goodie. Cujo used to ride around with Redman all the time, and when his first album came out, that's when Cujo taught me how to roll a blunt. So that's why Redman album was
how to roll a blunt? This is how you roll a blunt?
Yeah, because everybody was dealing with them ugly Philly blunts, and everybody was just now learning how to roll on Meth album, So that's the reason why we studied Meth, because him and what Eric Sermon was doing was so different than what everybody else was doing at
Yeah.
that time. I'm really a fan of EPMD Eric Sermon, man, because he don't.
Eric was down here for a while.
Yeah,
at the
he
rim
don't-
shop and everything.
He don't get the respect he's supposed to get.
Mm.
See, I just look at hip hop like I look at it like it can't be no best because everybody didn't try and do the same thing, and that's when hip hop was the greatest. When it was a De La Soul and Tribe, it was just it gave you different sections of hip hop during the day. It's like you listen to Tribe them in the morning, Midnight Marauder, then we get on some Red Man shit, so EPMD shit. It was different phases of hip hop that made you love it, and everybody wasn't speaking, and the rule was no biting allowed. No,
Oh yeah,
nobody.
Absolutely none of
You
that.
can't sound like me.
No.
And we can all go to the rant of Ghostface like, hey son.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
my
mean?
nigga right there. I love Ghost.
Another person that don't get the respect he get, and his rhyme style, him and Ray rhyme style was totally, different then. And people don't understand that I always was drawn to the underdog. And Wu-Tang to me was the underdog of New York because they were different. I tell people from Staten Island they felt like us during that time.
Yeah,
they wasn't
hell
really
yeah.
they weren't
Hell
really
yeah.
getting
They wasn't thought about like they wasn't thought about as real New York. Honestly. Honestly.
So the first night we performed in New York, Outkast album, April the 26th, 1996, 95. The first night we performed in New York, Wu-Tang Clan, it was their first show in the city, Protect Your Neck.
Oh wow.
We performed around the corner from them. We went down to the bodega and was down there drinking because we happy we in New York. We got Boone's Farm out. We listen to goddamn 69 boy. We going out. We happy. We ain't made it.
Right.
And damn, man, Method Man walked around the corner. And I got a picture that I took with all us standing on the street. None of us had jewelry, nothing. We was just all on our first album.
Wu-Tang and Goodie Mob.
And Goodie Mob.
That's crazy.
I took a picture from 1996.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
So like I always understood them. Me and RZA was always close.
Uh-huh.
And I always just understood they fight. Me being on the same label with I love everybody. Everybody love everything about Big, and I'm like, I was on the same label with Big. I did my first show with Big. You know what I mean? Like it was Outkast, Goodie Mob, and Big and Mac and Craig Mack. And I want to say this in New York too, man. You don't give Craig Mack the respect he deserves.
He kicked the door down.
He kicked the door down. And
I do.
A lot of times.
I do. If Flavor in Your Ear did not ring off the way it did, nobody would have paid attention to Big. Right. I'm telling you, Flavor in Your Ear set Bad Boy on the course to where Bad Boy went. Because when we really started paying attention to Big, when you really knew Big was dope, Juicy was cool, but when you heard the Flavor in Your Ear remix,
that's when you love Big.
That's when you really started niggas is mad. I get more butts than ashtrays. Yeah. Fuck a fair one. I get mine the fast way. Ski mask way. Nigga ransom notes far from handsome. But damn a nigga tote what you tote. More guns than roses. Foes shaking in their boots. Invisible bully like the gooch. A lot of niggas didn't get that line. I know you got it, Gipp. The first time you heard that line, you was like, oh shit, different strokes. A lot of niggas didn't get it. Like the gooch disappear.
Yeah.
That's when niggas was like, yo, this nigga Big might be a little different than anybody else.
Yes. And a lot of times when they see Gippy talk, my thing is that I see the rewriting the history going on right now.
Right.
That's what I see. Because what people don't understand is that when I try and tell people, I was like, bro, didn't nobody run nothing. We all was still fighting for a position.
That's right.
So you know what I mean?
Wasn't nobody super rich.
Nobody was super rich.
Nobody was super rich.
Everybody was fighting for a position. And I look at it like it just gives a disservice when you don't tell the whole story. You just want to tell the parts that's good and leave out some of the ones that wasn't per se good for business. Some people, some people might be great artists, but the business of this hip hop shit is not in some people's DNA.
Right.
They just wanted to be artists. Like
Right.
the business part of it and wanting to do this, that, and the other, that ain't what we signed up for.
Yeah.
So when we just talking about the art, music, producers, new acts, new sounds, new vibes, that's all I go on.
Yeah.
Once they start adding on everything everybody doing outside of what we doing with music, then I was like, man, the game changing, bro.
Changed 100,000%. Now, who else would you say is underrated? Snipe, who do you see in your era right now that you say they dope but they underrated?
I mean, it's a couple of them. I would say, Young Boot is an Atlanta artist. I would say is underrated. It's a couple of them. It's a cat. What's his name? We seen him the other night at Cheetahs. He came in. They didn't even know who he was when we was there. They turned him around. They wouldn't let him in. But I knew who he was. He was what's his name? The artist's name. The one who was out there in the black in the front. He couldn't get in. It's Rico something.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah. He was out there trying to get in, and I'm like, hey, I knew who he was though. But a lot of artists. But Young Boot, I want to get at that spot. The Young Boot, Tizzle from Cleveland Avenue. Shout out to Tizzle. I want to give my brother that shine. Tizzle they need to give Tizzle a lot of shine. He came from that whole era of that Jonesboro Road YSL thing, which is the area we grew up around. Was Jonesboro Road, Cleveland Avenue, South Atlanta.
Right.
So yeah. I would say, the other
end of East Point.
The end of East Point.
The other end of East Point, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Still resorts back to where we coming out of. OG Gipp.
Coming out of that same area.
I'm
that's
glad.
a beautiful foundation in the soil for hip hop.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, that East Point all out there, that's a beautiful fucking soil for some hip hop, man.
Yeah, we did
especially from the A. That's a beautiful soil right there.
A lot of things that came from over there. But I would like to say when you said that too is Rich Homie Quan, man. Shouted. I give Shouted the baton of one of the ones that really started this thing, this melody thing, and really taking it to another place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rich Homie Quan don't get the respect he's supposed to get because he really is one of the forerunners of where we are right now.
Yeah.
Thug, and when he got in the studio with Young Thug, it gave him a different feel. They start making a different music together. They all kind of got into that thing.
Yeah.
And the chemistry rubbed off on them. And transparency, he's a talented artist. And a lot of that, the stuff that gave these artists to do what they doing today is kind of just, following a certain trend that people don't really know that me and Young Thugs kind of grew up together as well. We from the same apartments, Jonesboro South. We both used to live there.
Yeah, we praying for you, Thugger, too.
Yeah.
We praying for you, brother.
So that's a lot I want to shed that light on, too, because bro really opened a lot of that, even down to giving people the free will, because Andre really is what started addressing like what OG was saying, but Thug I feel like came up and started making people feel free to wear those jackets again, to wear those different type of hats that really Andre always would do,
Yeah.
Thugger did that. But Thugger kind of,
which was the Gipp look.
Was the Gipp
look. That all comes from my man Gipp, which always goes back to George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic, which is so fucking dope, man, because you see how we handed down to each other. We handed it down. It came from Parliament. It gave it to Gipp. Gipp gave it to 3,000. 3,000 give it to Thugger. And it just keeps on moving. Right, to freedom to just be who you are. And when you're on that stage and embrace who you are as an artist. A lot of people
always used to talk about, they used to ask in the studio, he wanted Kanye verse or 3,000. He's like 3 stacks.
Yeah.
He told the first 3 stacks.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Because when I first met Kanye was really the actual college kid. Like he actually dressed like that every day.
He was a backpacker.
Yeah, he was very much a backpack rapper. Like so, yeah, he graduated into differency.
Yeah.
Just by his music just getting bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, and he evolved.
Evolved
as a producer. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he did that.
The boy is mean. You know what I mean? You can't take nothing away from him as a producer, man. None at all. Goodie Mob touring?
Oh, man, shit. I'm in Tampa this week.
That tell you right there. Yo, Gipp, thanks for coming by. Snipe, I
Thank you for
appreciate
having
you,
me.
man.
No, OG,
We gotta get
thank
up
you.
out of
Hey,
here.
mate.
It's another dope ass episode of Come On Son, the podcast, man. Check with y'all in next week. Tap in, man. Tell somebody that you saw the shit. Shit's incredible, man. Until next week, peace out. I'll see y'all then. Now get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Come on, son.